Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into something pretty fascinating, what a lot of our sources are calling the spirituality renaissance.
Yeah, this huge shift, isn't it? Millions of people apparently all over the world turning towards things like meditation, digging into ancient wisdom, trying out energy healing.
Exactly. And the big question, the one our sources keep asking, is why? Why are people stepping back from all the noise, the rush, the constant striving?
And choosing these more, well, introspective practices instead.
That's the core of it. So, our mission today in this deep dive is really to understand the reasons behind this global shift based on what our source materials are telling us.
And they seem to point to three main areas driving
Yeah.
this renaissance, if you like.
Right. First, there's this link between burnout and a kind of spiritual awakening.
Hmm.
Then the relevance of ancient wisdom today.
Yeah, how old ideas are finding new meaning.
And third, the rise of energy healing, which is becoming much more visible.
Okay, so let's start with that first one, then burnout and this awakening.
Yeah, so the context our sources give is, well, for decades, society's main message was pretty clear, wasn't it? Success meant being super productive.
Right. And happiness was something you could basically buy, tied to consumerism.
And knowledge. That was mostly about formal education, schools, universities, and later, digital media, the internet.
But here's the rub, the conflict the
Yes.
sources identify. Even though people were achieving more, supposedly more connected online,
Uh-huh.
many were reporting feeling less fulfilled. Actually, more lonely, less peaceful inside. It's quite a paradox.
It really is. It's like all that external focus wasn't actually delivering the goods, the real satisfaction.
Exactly. And the sources talk about this leading to a kind of quiet rebellion.
Oh, I like that phrase.
Yeah, this growing feeling, maybe just under the surface for many, that, hang on, there must be more than this.
Right. That internal niggle. And this, according to the materials, sparked a really significant shift in focus
From looking outside for
to
validation,
starting an internal exploration,
right.
looking within.
And we see concrete evidence of this, don't we? The sources point to the explosion in meditation apps, for instance.
Huge. And yoga studios everywhere, not just for fitness, but really focused on mindfulness, stress reduction.
Mm-hmm. And those retreats, the ones in places like Bali or Rishikesh in India, Sedona, they're apparently often fully booked.
It shows it's not just a tiny niche thing anymore. It's a real movement.
Definitely. And it's interesting how the language is changing, too. Our sources highlight how terms that used to sound really, well, out there.
Like chakra.
Yeah, or prana,
Yeah.
life force energy, or Reiki, even things like Akashic records.
Yeah.
These words are becoming more familiar, entering the mainstream conversation.
It's true. You hear them more. Now, this is where burnout comes in as a key factor, according to the sources.
Yes, the catalyst.
Exactly. Burnout wasn't just exhaustion. It acted almost like a doorway.
A doorway. How so?
Well, it forced people to realize they weren't machines, just built for output. The
Mhm.
sources put it beautifully. They're sacred, breathing beings.
That's a powerful way to put it.
It is. Beings with real needs for stillness, for connection, for meaning beyond just doing.
And that connects directly to meditation's changing perception, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It went from being seen as, I don't know, exotic or maybe a bit woo-woo.
Right, maybe something only monks did on mountaintops.
Yeah, to something neuroscience is actually studying and validating. The sources mention its proven benefits, like reducing stress hormones, cortisol.
Which is huge for counteracting that daily grind stress.
Totally. And even rewiring stressed brains, expanding awareness. It's become quite practical in a way.
And the sources suggest this shift towards meditation wasn't just about stress relief, but also about reclaiming something.
Yes, reclaiming their sovereignty is the word used. Taking back control of their inner world, their inner state, amidst all the external chaos.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so that covers the burnout aspect.
Huh.
What about the second area, ancient wisdom?
Right, this idea of rediscovering ancient wisdom. The sources have this lovely phrase, what's old is new again.
And you can see why that would appeal now, can't you? In such a fast-changing, often confusing world, there's a kind of yearning for something timeless.
Definitely. The sources specifically mention texts like the Upanishads from India, the Tao Te Ching from China.
Mm-hmm. And also, importantly, the wisdom held in indigenous earth-based traditions from around the world.
And what these ancient sources offer, according to the material, are these fundamental truths.
Like how to live in harmony with the planet.
Exactly that. And honoring life's natural cycles. Birth, growth, decay, renewal. understanding those rhythms.
And recognizing unseen energies, the idea that everything is connected.
Precisely. And the key insight here, the sources stress, is that these aren't just dusty old ideas, they're seen as timeless.
And they're resonating deeply with people now in this modern age, offering perspectives that maybe got lost or pushed aside in the rush for progress.
It feels like a kind of rebalancing, which actually leads us neatly into the third area, the rise of energy healing.
Ah, yes. This one's interesting because, as the sources note, it's often been dismissed by skeptics, hasn't it?
Very much so. But now it's increasingly visible in mainstream wellness. The sources even mention it finding a place in some hospitals and wellness centers.
That is a significant shift. What kind of practices are we talking about here?
Well, the sources list examples like Reiki, using crystals for healing crystal
Oh,
therapy.
sound baths. Those seem quite popular now.
They do, and even more complex ideas like quantum healing approaches.
Okay, and what's the core idea behind all these different methods, according to the sources?
The fundamental principle seems to be this understanding or belief that humans aren't just physical bodies. We're also made of vibration, frequency, light.
So an energetic perspective on being human.
Exactly, a view that we have subtle energy fields or systems that are part of our overall makeup.
And the sources suggest science is starting to, well, maybe catch up a bit, or at least explore this territory.
Yeah, they point out that science is beginning to investigate the energetic side of health, looking into things that might actually align with some of these ancient views. It's an emerging area.
Interesting. So from this energy healing perspective, what's the goal of healing then? Is it just about fixing physical symptoms?
Not solely, no. The sources frame it more as restoring flow to the subtle body.
The subtle body, meaning that energetic layer.
That's the idea, that this energetic level is foundational to our physical well-being. So true wellness involves getting that subtle energy flowing harmoniously again.
Okay, so if we tie all these threads together, the burnout awakening, the return to ancient wisdom, the rise of energy healing, what's the bigger picture message from the sources?
I think the main takeaway is that this spirituality renaissance isn't really about rejecting modern life or progress altogether.
It's more about finding balance.
Precisely. Achieving a better balance between our outer lives, our jobs, our activities, technology, and our inner lives, our internal landscape.
And the sources really emphasize that the answers people are seeking might not be out there somewhere.
Right. They suggest the answers are often found within, encoded, as they put it, in their breath, in their DNA, in their hearts. It's very inward focused.
Wow. And that leads to a really powerful final message from the material, doesn't it? About remembering who we are.
Yes, that this whole movement is fundamentally about remembering, not just seeing ourselves as, cogs in a machine or functional units.
But as sparks of the divine. That's quite a profound statement.
It really is. It shifts the whole perspective on identity and purpose.
So this naturally leads to a thought for you, the listener, doesn't it? Maybe consider how the pressures of modern life, the very things that might cause burnout or dissatisfaction,
Could actually be, perhaps inadvertently, nudging you towards exploring these deeper inner resources, toward looking at this kind of ancient wisdom.
it's an interesting possibility. Our sources really encourage a moment of personal reflection.
Yeah, just a pause, take a breath, and listen. Listen to what they call your own soul's quiet voice.
Because ultimately, the sources make it very clear. The spirituality renaissance isn't happening somewhere else.
It's happening in you. It's personal. It's internal.
A powerful thought to end on. Perhaps consider, how might that inner exploration be calling to you right now?